Alright, this is the final video on atomic structure, I promise, and it's about the electron. And the electron is the element, or I'm sorry, the particle that is probably the most important part of the atomic structure and the basis for so many things in science, and pretty much the cause of so many things that you're going to be studying in science and physics and chemistry. So let's get started. There was a scientist, starts with a scientist named Rutherford, and his idea was that the atom comprised of a central nucleus, and then these electrons that kind of orbited around it, much like the planets around the sun. And this is the picture that you see, like in Jimmy Neutron or anything that you might see that tries to depict the atom. But the fact that it goes, the theory that it goes around in an orbit doesn't quite fit right, because we know that the electron is negative and the proton is positive, and something that would orbit like that eventually would kind of attract each other to the point where the electron would crash into that proton. And so, that doesn't quite work out. So what actually happens here is that we have this nucleus, this positive nucleus, and that we have electrons surrounding it. And it's not that it orbits around in a constant path. We found that the electron can be in different places. That it can be here, it can be here, it can be here, it can jump to this side, it can jump further away, it can be here. And there's an uncertainty, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, you can look it up, as to where the electron can actually be. And it all comes down to like probability. So for instance, if we take you yourself as a student, for example, after school at 3:30 p.m., where are you going to be? So there's a certain percentage that you're going to be at home. There's maybe a certain percentage that you're going to be at a sports practice. Maybe that I don't know. Maybe you do tutoring. But the higher percentage possibly is that you're going to be, at home after school. But that's not to say that you're absolutely going to be there. That maybe you're someplace else. I don't know. So that's kind of the basis for thinking about where that electron can be. So if you take, a picture of an atom and where an electron could be, you might get all of these different probabilities. Maybe they're in this spot or this spot or this spot, and if maybe they're further away. And then when you take all these probabilities and you put them all together and you analyze all of it, you find that there is kind of a consensus, or there is the greater probability, just like the greatest let's say your probability of being home is 85%, that the greatest probability is within a certain area around the nucleus, and that is what's called an orbital. Not an orbit. Okay, we're not talking about an orbit. An orbit goes around in a circular path. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a probability of where the electron will be. Okay, and so because of that, we've come up with these orbitals, and it's based on energy. And the electron could actually be anywhere within that atom. All right, just the probability or the chances are better to find that specific electron within a certain orbital. And so when we look at the atom, and the electrons around it, we're not really visualizing. We shouldn't really visualize um, you know a planetary model where there's a center and then these electrons spinning around it. That's not how it works. We should be kind of visualizing more like a cloud. And so this is kind of where it is. It's kind of like looking at a fan. And if you see the fan, and right now the fan is still, but when it spins, you don't really see the parts of the different parts of the fan. You just kind of see a blur, right? And so that's kind of a good analogy, a good comparison to the electron cloud, where these electrons could kind of jump from energy level to energy level, but at a certain energy level, the likelihood that they're going to be within this certain area is much higher than other areas. All right, but yet we don't see this path. We see more of this electron cloud. And I know it's kind of abstract, and you're going to learn more and more about it. But just know that this is a good way to kind of understand the electron. This planetary model that was developed by Rutherford, and then came Niels Bohr and Heisenberg, and it got into the whole idea of quantum physics or quantum mechanics of the atom. So I know I'm not sure what you're gonna get exactly what you guys are getting out of this video, but understand that the electrons kind of it's more about probability. It's not orbits. It's something called orbitals. Orbitals have different shapes. Sometimes they're circular. Other orbitals are more like a dumbbell shape on either side of the nucleus. And it's based on a probability that the electron can kind of jump around. And a true picture of an atom does not involve orbits, but more of something called the electron cloud. And so, alright, so this is my last video. I hope I didn't confuse you more from the beginning, and hope you got something out of it. Bye.